1978. It's a sunny September day and a parade is running through the center of the small Marin County town of San Anselmo. The onlookers perk up as an already familiar sight appears in the parade route. Darth Vader has arrived. The crowd is loving this face-to-face encounter with the Dark Lord of the Sith. Except he's not alone, and the attention from the crowd is decidedly split. Next to the evil, hulking frame of Darth Vader is someone else. Silver armor pokes through the battle-worn green, yellow, and red paint that covers this mysterious figure head to toe. His blaster looks dangerous, but his jetpack looks functional? Sleek? No. Cool. Definitely cool. A helmet completely engulfs his head, and his face is covered by a tinted T-shaped visor. A cape drapes over his shoulder. He was one part medieval warrior, one part Clint Eastwood's man with no name, but he was all Star Wars. No one knew anything about him. He was still 2 months away from appearing in any Star Wars content. But on that day in 1978, the galaxy's most dangerous bounty hunter emerged into the public eye, and over 40 years later, he's still one of the most beloved, celebrated, and yes, feared characters in the galaxy. His legend was born out of mystery, but he grew into something more complete, more compelling, and something more than anyone could have guessed while watching him stroll down the center of a small town's parade. He is Boba Fett, and this is the evolution of the galaxy's most notorious bounty hunter. The true journey of Boba Fett begins in 1980's The Empire Strikes Back. From the moment newly promoted Admiral Firmus Piet leans over two of his faithful officers to mumble,
"Bounty hunters. We don't need that scum."
Boba Fett already had our attention. There were 5 bounty hunters standing before Darth Vader on the deck of that Super Star Destroyer. Standing among them was the sleek-looking, mysterious man with no face but all the swagger. Even the other bounty hunters would understand why we liked him more. Fett's outfit alone invited your imagination to dream up the adventures and dastardly deeds he had had so far. This is due in large part to ILM legend Joe Johnston putting story into the Fett armor. He damaged the armor with rocks, scraped paint off in spots, and added a dent to his helmet. Each mark a signpost of another Fett story you just didn't know about yet. So yes, the 1978 parade was the character's first steps, and that was followed only 2 months later by his appearance in the infamous holiday special, in which a 9-minute animated short film titled The Story of the Faithful Wookiee didn't just introduce and name this mysterious figure, it helped establish him as a feared bounty hunter and influence Boba's measured, calculating speech patterns.
"You are alone?"
While establishing a pacing and weird sci-fi vibe that connects directly to Jon Favreau's Star Wars work thus far. And sorry, George, we'll try not to talk about the holiday special anymore.
"We'll meet again, friend."
While those were the official starting points of Boba Fett, The Empire Strikes Back was when it all really took off. He spoke 4 lines in the movie.
"As you wish. He's no good to me dead. What if he doesn't survive? He's worth a lot to me. Put Captain Solo in the cargo hold."
And even counting his appearance in Return of the Jedi, appeared on screen for less than 7 minutes. But that is all it took. The fans, it would seem, did the rest. Despite the buzzworthy "I am your father" twist of The Empire Strikes Back, when crowds poured out of cinemas in May 1980, Boba Fett fever was growing. What helped spread the flames of this obsession around was a combination of the character's flawless design and what little we knew about him crashing into our wild Star Wars-loving imaginations. The novelization of The Empire Strikes Back by Donald F. Glutt had provided us some small clues to what Boba Fett was. He was human, for starters, and had come from a long line of evil warriors defeated by the Jedi Knights during the Clone Wars. Or if you actually read it closely, his armor had come from that line. So maybe Boba had come from the line himself, or maybe the armor was a relic from the distant past, a sign of this man's ruthless skill. Regardless, that description alone could send you run into the playground to tell your friends about this valuable information on Boba Fett. Hey, this guy's a real threat to Luke. With the memories of The Empire Strikes Back still dancing in your head, all you needed now is for that mail-away, rocket-firing Boba Fett figure to arrive. You no doubt sent your 4 proof-of-purchase seals to a P.O. box in Maple Lane, Minnesota in 1979 to get this figure. Now it just had to arrive. And it did. Even the toy was as mysterious as he was. So with that little bit of information, a new villain action figure to chase around Luke and Han in your house, and nothing but 3 whole years ahead of us, our anticipation of what role Boba Fett would play in the 3rd chapter of the greatest saga ever told was left to grow to immeasurable levels. Revenge of the Jedi couldn't come soon enough. In May 1983, Return of the Jedi, and yeah, that actually does make more sense philosophically, George, good job, arrived, and with it, Boba Fett took a powder and was, wait, what, dead? Yep, starting a tradition of highly anticipated characters making an early exit without as much screen time as fans had hoped for that would later include Darth Maul, Captain Phasma, and yes, you know I'm right, Bistan. Boba Fett was gone. Han Solo, still mostly blind and weary from his carbonite-induced nap, took one accidental swing at Fett, and with a terrified scream, resounding thud, and sarlacc belch, the mysterious bounty hunter was pulled down into the maw of the creature residing deep beneath the sands of the great pit of Carkoon, and out of our lives. Now, this could be viewed as a bad decision or at least a wasted opportunity. The perfectly designed character with a growing legion of fans could have stayed at the party a little longer. In fact, even George has said that if he knew Boba would become so popular, maybe he'd done something a little different with him. But in the end, Star Wars has never been about the cool costumes, exploding knee darts, and rocket-firing jetpacks. It's about the journey. It is a mythic quest through an unknown galaxy that connects directly to the hopes, dreams, and even fears in our own hearts. And Boba Fett's journey, it seemed, had come to an end for all of us. And that might have been the best thing for his legend. Boba Fett was a mystery, full of stories yet to be heard. All you had to do was look at Boba Fett to know his adventures were limitless. A little death in the belly of a Tatooine beast was not going to stop that. So, as the Star Wars universe started to expand with wild new novels and comic books, Boba Fett crawled out of the Sarlacc, or jetpacked, or used his exploding jetpack, to break out of it and reclaim his rightful spot as the one-note badass bounty hunter he always knew he was. No growth, no real changes, just Fett unfettered and back on the hunt. This put Boba Fett in the center of many stories. How he survived the Sarlacc was revealed in the anthology Tales from Jabba's Palace. He picked up the trail of Han Solo in the comic series Star Wars Dark Empire and became the ruler of Mandalore, and even got in the middle of a scuffle between Han and Leia's kids. Suffice to say, he was pretty busy post-certain death. Along with this increasingly robust collection of books was the impending release of the special editions and the much-rumored Star Wars prequel movies. As the kids who grew up loving Boba Fett in the original trilogy era got a little older, the love of this dangerous bounty hunter grew. Turns out George Lucas liked Boba Fett too, and when it came time for the second episode in his now growing film franchise 2002's Attack of the Clones, the creator decided, I always liked Boba Fett, he was a good character, now I needed another one, so I did Jango Fett. This might be hard to believe, but the news that Jango Fett, the supposed father of Boba, would be appearing in Episode 2 was met with some anger and doubt by Star Wars fans. By this point, much of Boba Fett's story, both going forward and his lineage, had been filled out by the Star Wars expanded universe, and just the presence of someone named Jango Fett would complicate that. Well, George Lucas has never been one to stay confined to lore, especially lore he didn't create, so he complicated things even more by introducing young Boba Fett. Both a pure clone of his father and his son, Boba Fett, now portrayed by Daniel Logan, was found on Kamino learning the bounty hunting trade from his father. Again, fans question this. Boba is clearly a man of mystery, but now we're seeing a young child roaming the galaxy with his father? Couldn't this harm the mystique? Not if you like character development, and Star Wars does. Big themes of identity, purpose, and trauma were introduced to the story of Boba Fett, especially after Jedi Master Mace Windu, a guardian of peace and justice, took Jango's head off with a violent swing of his lightsaber in front of young Boba. The shot of a young Boba clutching his slain father's helmet, the helmet he would soon don, was the true origin story of an emerging yet troubled villain. In 2010, during Season 2 of the animated series Star Wars The Clone Wars, young Boba Fett returned to the Star Wars galaxy in the episode Death Trap as an angry young man seeking vengeance against the Jedi for the murder of his father. Voiced again by Daniel Logan, the story of Boba Fett now added layers and brought with it philosophical and moral questions about the actions of Mace and the Jedi. The violence of Boba Fett even brought with it a stronger sense of his personal code and honor, as his need for a parental figure temporarily aligned him with the devious and honorless Aurra Sing. And this code, this sense of personal honor, was coming from the legacy of his father, with the notorious and really charming pirate Hondo Ohnaka reminding Boba that his father would want him to do the right thing in the episode Lethal Trackdown. But the story of Fett's youth would go on, and the hole in his soul would never quite be filled. Donning new gear and forming a bounty hunters gang called the Crate's Claw, Fett was trying hard to be a feared leader and force in the underworld. He wasn't quite there yet, but clearly, he would reach those goals eventually. The sale of Lucasfilm to Disney brought a lot of new content, just in case you missed it. But among the new movies, shows, and novels were the continuing adventures of Boba Fett in the Marvel Comics line. Fett was all over them. Right in the center of the story is a man who found out Luke's last name for Darth Vader, chasing down other favorites, and even tussling with Luke in old Ben Kenobi's abandoned hut. For the most part, these fun tales are the Fett of old. He's not searching for his identity or struggling with the loss of his father. He is Boba Fett, and he'll blast you away if the price was right. And he rode that wave of success straight into that Sarlacc pit. At the end of Chapter 5 of The Mandalorian's first season, the leg of an unknown individual came into frame as Master Assassin Fennec Shand lay dying on the sands of Tatooine. This person stepped forward and the familiar sounds of spurs rang out across the galaxy. Boba Fett, it would seem, was back. And with him, Boba Fett fan fever. While fun questions like how did he survive the Sarlacc pit and how will he get back his armor started racing through the minds of fans, the most important question began with why. Why bring Boba Fett back? To have him reclaim his mantle as the galaxy's top bounty hunter and badass? Was it to get revenge on Han Solo? Was he a changed man after nearly dying a horrible death? The answers to these questions are the final steps in the evolution of Boba Fett. When Boba Fett finally caught up to the story of Din Djarin, Grogu, and the tales of the Mandalorian, he was both a changed man and Boba Fett at his most pure. Maskless and still looking for the armor that once made him infamous, Boba Fett was openly discussing his honor, claiming his clone identity, and defiantly fighting against the idea once introduced in the Clone Wars series that his father was not a true Mandalorian. He was in pursuit of something more than a payday, sticking around for something beyond his own desires and ready to dish out violent justice to those he felt deserved it. He was no longer a cool background character with 7 minutes of screen time. He was ready to fill out the pages of the Book of Boba Fett, the live-action Disney Plus series. From a stoic hunter that strolled down a parade route to a complicated individual looking to become something better than what he was bred for, Boba Fett was no longer a man with no face, coasting to the margins of the Star Wars mythic tales. He was in the middle of it, searching for some sort of redemption and a new way forward. This was the way. The evolution of Boba Fett.